The research vessel Curiosity drifted silently through the Kuiper Belt, its sensors probing the darkness for signs of the mysterious signal that had brought them to the edge of human space. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the main observation window, her dark eyes reflecting the distant pinpricks of starlight. After 6 months of following the faint electromagnetic pulses, they were finally closing in on the source. "Signal strength increasing," announced Marcus Rodriguez from his station at Communications. His fingers danced across the holographic interface, fine-tuning their receivers. "Whatever's out there, it's big. Energy signature suggests something at least a kilometer in length." Sarah nodded, trying to contain her excitement. The Curiosity wasn't a military vessel. It was a converted mining ship, retrofitted for deep space exploration. Its crew of 30 consisted mainly of scientists and engineers, people who had chosen to venture into the unknown not for glory or profit, but for the simple human desire to understand. "Multiple objects detected," called out Emma Foster, their sensor specialist. Her Australian accent carried a note of concern. "They're moving. Fast. These aren't asteroids." Before Sarah could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive vessel emerged from what appeared to be a localized distortion in spacetime, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence. It was followed by another and another, each ship easily dwarfing the Curiosity. "My God," breathed Marcus. "First contact. We're actually making first contact." The excitement in the control room lasted exactly 8 seconds before the first energy beam lanced between the alien vessels, turning the darkness of space into a brilliant display of destructive power. The Curiosity found itself in the middle of what could only be described as a space battle between two clearly different alien designs. One group of ships sporting the iridescent hulls, the others bearing hulls that seemed to absorb light itself. "All hands, emergency stations." Sarah's training kicked in. Marcus broadcast on all frequencies. "Let them know we're not combatants." "Emma, get me everything you can on those weapons they're using." "Engineering, prepare for emergency maneuvers." The Curiosity's civilian engines groaned as Chief Engineer Patel pushed them beyond their intended specifications. They needed to get clear of the battlefield, but the alien ships moved with impossible grace, their combat taking place at velocities that made human space combat theories look primitive. A stray energy blast clipped their port side. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems started failing. "Hull breach in Section 4, reported Patel over the comm. "The energy weapon. It's not just damaging the hull, it's unraveling the atomic bonds. Our armor's useless." Sarah's mind raced. Their ship wasn't built for this. They had no weapons, no military-grade shields, nothing that could. "Wait. Engineering. The mining lasers. Can we modify them?" "The cutters?" Patel sounded confused for a moment before understanding dawned. "They're not weapons, but yes, we could reconfigure them. They're meant to slice through asteroid rock, so the focusing systems are already in place. But Doctor, power consumption would be..." "Do it," Sarah ordered. "Emma, analyze those energy weapons. I want to know frequencies, patterns, everything. Marcus, keep broadcasting, but also start collecting data on their communications. If they're fighting each other, they must be coordinating somehow." As the crew rushed to comply, Sarah watched the battle unfold. The iridescent ships moved in complex formations, their attacks following mathematical patterns so precise they seemed almost beautiful. The dark ships countered with equally sophisticated maneuvers, each side's tactics appearing to follow rules and protocols beyond human comprehension. That's when Sarah noticed something strange. "Emma, confirm something for me. Are both sides using the same base technology?" "These weapons, they look different, but the fundamental principles." "Confirmed," Emma replied, her eyes wide. "The energy signatures are nearly identical. It's like they're using variations of the same tech. And that signal we were tracking, it's coming from something else entirely, something ancient. Both sides are fighting over it." Sarah's lips curved into a small smile. Human history was filled with stories of technologically advanced civilizations being surprised by supposedly primitive opponents who thought outside the box. If both alien forces were working from the same technological foundation, they might have blind spots, assumptions about how space combat should work. Engineering, how are those mining lasers coming? And I need options for our shield generators. Forget trying to stop their weapons directly. Let's think about deflection, diffusion, maybe even using their own energy against them. As the Curiosity's crew raced to improvise defenses from their civilian equipment, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, imagining meetings of peace or wars of survival. Nobody had imagined their first encounter with alien life would involve playing referee between two advanced civilizations while armed with nothing but mining equipment and human ingenuity. The ship shuddered as another blast passed nearby. They had minutes, maybe less, to turn their civilian research vessel into something that could survive a space battle. But if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was adapting to impossible situations. Sarah watched her crew work, each person contributing ideas that would have seemed insane just hours ago. "Doctor," called Marcus, "I think I found something in their communications. Patterns in the quantum fluctuations. They're so ordered, so predictable. Almost like they've never had to worry about someone intercepting and decoding them." Sarah finished. "Keep working on that. If we can't outfight them, maybe we can outsmart them. Humanity's about to show these advanced civilizations that technology isn't everything." As she gave the order to begin their desperate gambit, Sarah wondered what historians would make of this moment. When humanity's first official contact with alien life involved turning a research vessel into an improvised warship using nothing but human creativity and mining equipment. Whatever happened next would either be a testament to human adaptability or a very short footnote in the story of their species. Either way, they were about to make one hell of a first impression. Chief Engineer Patel's hands moved with practiced precision as he rerouted power conduits throughout the Curiosity. Around him, his engineering team worked with the focused intensity that came from knowing their survival depended on their success. The mining laser's focusing array lay gutted before him, its components spread across the deck as they reconfigured it for a purpose its designers had never imagined. "The problem isn't power," he muttered, more to himself than to his team. "It's control. These crystals were meant for precision cutting, not combat." He held up one of the focusing crystals, watching as it caught the light from the emergency panels. That's when inspiration struck. "Dr. Chen," he called over the comm. "Remember those crystalline formations we documented in the Ceres belt last month? The ones that naturally redirected radiation?" Up in the control room, Sarah's eyes widened as she caught his meaning. "The lattice structures. You think we could adapt that principle?" "Better," Patel replied, already reaching for his tablet to run simulations. "Those formations weren't just redirecting energy. They were amplifying it. If we reconfigure our focusing crystals to match those patterns." A violent shudder ran through the ship, cutting him off. Another near miss from the alien weapons. Through the viewport, Sarah watched as the iridescent ships executed a perfect pincer movement against their dark counterparts. The precision was beautiful, but it was also predictable. Every move followed established patterns, like a deadly dance where both partners knew all the steps. "Marcus," she called to her communications officer. "Those patterns you found in their quantum communications, show me again." The holographic display filled with cascading data streams. To most observers, it would have appeared random, but Sarah saw what Marcus had noticed. The aliens' communications followed the same mathematical precision as their combat maneuvers. Perfect, predictable, and utterly vulnerable to someone thinking outside their technological framework. "Emma, do we still have those old radio transmitters? The ones we used to communicate with the mining drones?" Emma looked up from her station, confused. "The analog ones? Yes, but they're practically antiques compared to our quantum comm system. Get them online." Sarah ordered. "And I want every piece of obsolete communication equipment we have broadcasting on random frequencies. Time to add some chaos to their perfect equations." As the engineering team worked to modify their mining lasers and the communications team prepared their electronic warfare package, Dr. James Wong from Xenobiology made an unexpected contribution. "Dr. Chen," he called out, gesturing to his displays, "I've been analyzing the energy patterns from both alien fleets. There's something organic about their ship designs, the way they channel energy. It's almost like a nervous system." Sarah moved to his station, studying the data. Could their technological advancement have led them to mimic biological systems? "Not mimic," James corrected. "I think they've integrated them. These ships aren't just machines. They're partly alive. And if they're alive, they can be confused," Sarah finished. "Just like any living system can be overwhelmed by contradictory inputs." She hit the ship-wide comm. "Engineering, new priority. I need you to make our weapons feel wrong to their biomechanical systems. Think of it like giving them technological indigestion." The next hour was a blur of activity as the crew of the Curiosity raced to implement their improvised strategies. They weren't just modifying their ship anymore. They were turning every primitive aspect of their technology into an advantage. The mining lasers were reborn as disruptors, their crystals arranged in naturally occurring patterns that no alien engineer would have considered viable. Old radio equipment was jury-rigged to flood the quantum battle space with anarchic transmissions. Even their waste heat management systems were repurposed to create thermal patterns that would appear nonsensical to biomechanical sensors. "All modifications complete," Paddle reported. "But Doctor, I should warn you. None of this follows any established engineering principles. It shouldn't work." Sarah smiled. "That's exactly why it will. Humanity didn't get to the stars by following established principles. We got here by trying things everyone else thought were impossible." The Curiosity sensors showed more alien ships arriving, reinforcements for both sides. They were running out of time to test their theories about alien vulnerabilities. "All hands," Sarah broadcast. "What we're about to attempt goes against everything we know about space combat. Our advantages are confusion, chaos, and human creativity. Let's show these advanced civilizations why they should never underestimate a species that still remembers how to think primitively." Marcus looked up from his station, a mix of fear and excitement in his eyes. "They're coming around for another attack run. Both fleets are maintaining their standard attack patterns." "Perfect," Sarah replied. "They're about to learn that standard patterns are a weakness. Activate all modifications. Let's introduce some human chaos into their orderly universe." As the crew prepared to execute their desperate plan, Sarah felt a strange calm settle over her. They were about to find out if human ingenuity could truly compete with advanced alien technology. Either way, they were about to rewrite the rules of space combat, assuming they survived the next few minutes. The Curiosity's engines pulsed with an irregular rhythm as they executed their first evasive maneuver. Gone was the smooth efficiency of standard spaceflight, replaced by what looked like amateur piloting, but was actually a carefully calculated form of controlled chaos. "First alien fleet is responding exactly as predicted," Emma reported, watching the iridescent ships adjust their formation to intercept. "They're trying to calculate our trajectory based on standard flight dynamics." Sarah nodded, watching as the alien vessels moved to where the Curiosity should have been, if they were following conventional physics. Instead, Patel had rigged their engines to fire in seemingly random patterns, creating a flight path that defied prediction. "Now," Sarah ordered, "hit them with everything." The Curiosity's transformed mining lasers fired, their beams distorted by the crystalline formations stolen from nature itself. Instead of the precise, military-grade weapons the aliens were used to, these beams wobbled and split, refracting through space in ways that shouldn't have been possible according to any proper combat doctrine. The effect on the alien ships was immediate and stunning. Where their advanced shields were calibrated to deflect focused energy weapons, These chaotic beams slipped through their defenses like water through a sieve. The iridescent hull of the nearest ship began to pulse erratically. Their biomechanical systems are responding. James called out from his station. Energy patterns show signs of confusion, similar to when organic beings experience sensory overload. Marcus's hands flew across his communication console, activating our radio interference now, flooding all frequencies with human music, everything from classical to death metal. Adding random patterns of old Earth television signals, radio broadcasts, and even some cooking shows. The alien ship's perfect formation began to waver. Their quantum communications, so dependent on mathematical precision, struggled to cope with the flood of primitive signals that followed no logical pattern they could understand. "They're breaking formation," Emma reported, excitement creeping into her voice. "Both fleets, they're losing their coordination." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. This is what happens when you rely too heavily on perfect systems. Humans learned long ago that perfection can be a weakness. Sometimes you need chaos, improvisation, the willingness to break every rule in the book. The dark ships, apparently as confused as their iridescent opponents, began firing wildly. Their energy weapons, normally precisely targeted, sprayed across space in increasingly desperate patterns. The Curiosity's jury-rigged thermal systems scattered their targeting sensors, making the civilian vessel appear to be everywhere and nowhere at once. "Doctor," Patel's voice came over the comm, strained but triumphant. "The modified crystals are doing more than we expected. They're not just disrupting their weapons, they're creating feedback loops in their biomechanical systems. It's like their ships are experiencing technological seasickness." A massive energy surge suddenly erupted from the direction of the ancient signal they'd originally been tracking. The alien artifact, silent until now, had apparently been awakened by the chaos of battle around it. A pulse of energy swept through space, washing over all ships present. "Energy signature is like nothing we've ever seen," Emma reported, her sensors struggling to make sense of the readings. "It's waiting." Sarah understood immediately. "It's a test. The artifact isn't just a piece of technology. It's measuring us. All of us." She hit the ship-wide comm. "All hands, new objective. We need to show that signal something uniquely human." The crew responded with the adaptability that had already served them so well. The Curiosity's improvised weapons systems were quickly recalibrated, this time not to attack but to communicate. Their chaotic energy patterns were refined into something more deliberate, still unpredictable, but now carrying meaning in their very unpredictability. "We're not trying to defeat the alien fleets anymore," Sarah announced to her crew. "We're trying to teach them something about humanity. Show them why chaos isn't always the enemy." The Curiosity began to move in a new way, its flight path tracing patterns that seemed random at first glance, but contained a deeper rhythm, like jazz translated into spaceflight. Their modified mining lasers fired in synchronized bursts that created interference patterns in space itself, turning the battlefield into an impromptu-like show. "The alien ships," Emma reported, wonder in her voice. "They're responding. Both fleets, they're beginning to match our patterns, but in their own way. It's like they're learning to improvise." Sarah watched as the deadly dance of combat transformed into something else entirely. The iridescent ships began experimenting with their energy weapons, creating harmonics that played off the Curiosity's chaotic pulses. The dark ships, not to be outdone, started generating interference patterns that added new layers to the emerging symphony of light and energy. "The artifact's energy signature is changing," Marcus reported. "It's not just observing anymore. It's participating." Around them, space itself seemed to come alive with possibilities as 3 different species, human, iridescent, and dark, discovered a new way of interacting, one that transcended their technological differences. The very chaos that humans had introduced as a weapon was becoming a bridge between civilizations. "Send them everything," Sarah ordered. "Our music, our art, our stories of both order and chaos. Show them what humanity really is, not just our science, but our souls. As the impromptu concert of species continued, Sarah realized they had achieved something far more significant than military victory. They had shown two advanced civilizations that there was more to existence than perfect patterns and predictable responses. Sometimes the greatest achievements came from embracing chaos, from daring to break every rule and finding beauty in the unexpected. The ancient artifact's energy patterns pulsed in rhythm with the improvised light show around it, its surface now glowing with symbols that shifted and changed like living things. Dr. Sarah Chen watched in fascination as the alien fleets continued their transformation from combatants to collaborators, their ships moving in ways that would have been impossible according to their previous rigid protocols. "Doctor," Marcus called from his station, "I'm detecting new patterns in the quantum communications. The alien fleets, they're not just copying our chaos, they're building on it, adding their own variations." Through the main viewport, the iridescent ships had begun moving in spiral patterns that defied conventional spaceflight dynamics, their energy weapons firing in synchronized bursts that created complex interference patterns in space. The dark ships responded with their own innovations, their normally light-absorbing hulls now pulsing with deep, rhythmic waves of color. "It's like watching different musical traditions merge," Emma observed, her sensors struggling to keep up with the rapidly evolving display, each species contributing their own element to create something entirely new. Sarah nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. "That's exactly what it is. The artifact wasn't just testing our ability to fight or our technological advancement. It was testing our ability to adapt, to create, to find harmony in discord." The Curiosity's jury-rigged systems continued broadcasting their mixture of human culture, everything from classical music to quantum physics equations, from poetry to mathematical chaos theory. Their modified mining lasers now fired in patterns based on human brainwave activities during creative thinking, turning neural chaos into visible energy. "Engineering to bridge," Paddle's voice carried a note of excitement. "Doctor, the aliens are transmitting technical data, not weapons or shields. They're showing us how their biomechanical systems process information. I think they want us to understand how they think." "Send them our neural mapping data," Sarah ordered. "Show them how human creativity works, how we find patterns in chaos and chaos in patterns. Let them see what makes us different." The exchange of information accelerated. The alien ships began mimicking human-style flight patterns while maintaining elements of their own precise movements, creating hybrid maneuvers that seemed to defy physics itself. The Curiosity responded by incorporating alien mathematical concepts into their improvised technology, their systems evolving in real time. James looked up from his xenobiology station, his eyes wide. The biomechanical responses from both fleets, they're showing signs of genuine learning, not just mimicry, but actual neural adaptation. Their living ships are literally rewiring themselves to understand us. A new signal suddenly emanated from the artifact, different from anything they detected before. The ancient device had begun transmitting data of its own, but not to any individual fleet. Instead, it was sharing information with all three species simultaneously, using their newly developed hybrid communication methods. "It's an archive," Marcus breathed, watching as his displays filled with information. "The artifact. It's some kind of library left by an ancient species. But the data, it's not just technical specifications or historical records. It's art, music, philosophy. The cultural and creative heritage of a civilization that learned to merge order and chaos." Sarah felt a deep sense of awe as she realized what they had stumbled upon. They weren't looking for inheritors to their technology, she said. They were looking for species capable of understanding their perspective. That true advancement comes not from perfecting either order or chaos, but from learning to dance between them. The alien fleets had completely abandoned their original combat formations, their ships now arranged in a complex orbital pattern around the artifact. The iridescent vessel's crystalline structures resonated with harmonics that complemented the dark ship's energy fields, while the Curiosity's chaotic human elements tied everything together in unexpected ways. "We're receiving direct communications," Marcus announced. "Both fleets. They're using a mixture of their quantum signals and our radio waves, creating a whole new protocol on the fly." The messages that came through were unlike anything in human first contact protocols. Instead of formal greetings or diplomatic overtures, the aliens shared what could only be described as art. Mathematical equations that formed visual patterns, energy harmonics that created music, and complex movements that turned space itself into a canvas. "They're not just communicating with us," Emma realized. "They're creating with us. Everything we've done here, the combat, the chaos, the adaptation, it's becoming part of a shared cultural experience." Sarah smiled as she watched her crew work to integrate these alien artistic expressions with human creativity. Engineers collaborated with xenobiologists to translate biomechanical responses into musical compositions. Communications officers worked with sensor technicians to turn battlefield data into abstract visual art. The very weapons they had improvised were being repurposed again, this time as instruments in an interstellar symphony. The artifacts test wasn't about finding the most advanced civilization, Sarah announced to her crew. It was about finding species willing to transcend their limitations, to learn from each other and create something greater than the sum of their parts. As the three species continued their impromptu collaboration, the artifact's glow steadied into a constant warm light. Whatever criteria its ancient creators had set, humanity and their newfound alien partners had passed the test, not through combat prowess or technological superiority, but through their shared ability to embrace the unknown and find beauty in the unexpected. 1 month after their unexpected first contact, the research vessel Curiosity floated in formation with ships from both alien fleets near the artifact. The scene would have been unimaginable just weeks ago. Human engineers working alongside alien technicians, their different approaches to technology creating innovations that neither species could have developed alone. The integration of biomechanical systems with human chaos theory is proceeding better than expected, Paddle reported from engineering, where he worked with a team of both iridescent and dark ship representatives. Their living ships are actually becoming more efficient by incorporating controlled randomness into their processes. Sarah watched through the viewport as several alien vessels demonstrated their newly developed hybrid maneuvers. The iridescent ships had maintained their crystalline precision, but now moved with an almost artistic flair, while the dark ships had learned to use unpredictability as a form of expression rather than just combat. "Translation matrix is holding stable," Marcus called from his station. "The new communication protocols are spreading through both fleets. They're already talking about establishing permanent cultural exchange programs." The artifact, now fully activated, had revealed itself to be more than just a library. It was a teaching tool left by an ancient species that had discovered the key to true advancement, the ability to transcend rigid thinking and embrace new perspectives. The data it contained showed how they had learned to merge technology with art, science with philosophy, order with chaos. "We've decoded another section of the artifact's database," Emma announced. "It's beautiful." The ancient species, they didn't just achieve technological advancement. They found a way to make their entire civilization into a form of living art. Every aspect of their society was designed to promote creativity and innovation. James looked up from his xenobiology station. The biomechanical responses from both alien fleets show unprecedented neural plasticity. Their ships aren't just adapting to our methods. They're developing entirely new ways of processing information. They're evolving. Sarah smiled as she reviewed the latest data from their collaborative experiments. What had started as a desperate attempt to survive a space battle had transformed into something revolutionary. The human capacity for improvisation, once seen as a primitive trait by the advanced alien civilizations, was now recognized as a crucial component of progress. "Dr. Chen," called a voice that was both familiar and alien. one of the iridescent ship commanders, speaking through the new hybrid communication system. Our fleet has made a decision. We wish to establish a permanent research station here, jointly operated by all three species. The chaos you humans introduced to our perfect systems, it has opened possibilities we never imagined. The commander of the dark ships added their own message, their traditionally minimalist communication style, now enriched with elements of human expression. Our species spent millennia perfecting our technology, believing that absolute control was the path to advancement. You showed us that true perfection lies in imperfection, in the ability to adapt and create. Through the viewport, Sarah watched as ships from all three species moved in a coordinated dance around the artifact. The human influence was clear in their movements. Precise alien maneuvers now incorporated elements of randomness, creating patterns that were both mathematical and artistic. The artifact's creators understood something fundamental about the universe. Sarah addressed her crew and their alien guests. Progress isn't just about technological advancement or military power. It's about the ability to grow, to change, to see beauty in the unexpected. Humanity may have seemed primitive to your advanced civilizations, but our greatest strength lies in our chaos, our creativity, our willingness to break rules and try the impossible. The artifact pulsed with approval, its ancient systems resonating with the harmony created by the three species working together. What had begun as a battle had transformed into a renaissance, a new age of collaboration between civilizations that had learned to value their differences. We've received the final translation of the artifact's primary message, Marcus announced. It's not just data or historical records. It's an invitation. The ancient message filled their screens, a complex blend of mathematics, art, and philosophy that spoke to all three species in different ways. The artifact's creators had not just been looking for worthy inheritors of their knowledge. They had been searching for civilizations capable of taking that knowledge and transforming it into something new. They wanted us to learn from each other, Sarah realized. Not to copy their achievements, but to use them as inspiration to create our own path forward. The iridescent fleet's precision, the dark fleet's efficiency, humanity's chaos. Together, we're becoming something greater than any of us could have been alone. As the three species continued their work, the artifact's glow seemed to strengthen, as if approving of their collaboration. The ancient civilization's legacy would not be preserved in perfect, unchanging form, but would evolve and grow through the combined creativity of their inheritors. Send a message to Earth, Sarah ordered. Tell them that humanity's first official contact with alien life didn't end in war or submission. It ended in art, in innovation, in the kind of victory that doesn't create losers, the kind that makes everyone stronger. The Curiosity's engines hummed with their new hybrid technology as they prepared to help establish the joint research station. Above them, ships from three different species moved in formations that defied conventional physics and logic, their movements a testament to the power of embracing change and finding strength in diversity. Humanity had passed its first interstellar test, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through their uniquely human ability to think differently, to adapt, to find beauty in chaos and possibility in the impossible. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the most primitive solution could be the most revolutionary. That progress comes not from perfecting the old, but from daring to try something new.